Katie, I'll be out in the hall. I won't be in class.
We saw you flash your class up, Greg.
I know.
I
We're
thought we were
excited.
just gonna, have the board meeting in front of your class, which would be fine. But
Well, they wrote some
before,
quiz
before we
questions
keep on the
for you.
back and forth, how about we get the meeting started? You want to? Look at him, he's like, "Wait, maybe." Just want to make sure he knows he's live. I would now like to call to order the January 10th, 2024 meeting of the Indiana State Board of Education. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bess.
Here.
Ms. DeLosa.
Here.
Mr. Durham.
Present.
Dr. Ernest.
Present.
Mr. Gastineau.
Here.
Ms. Hamill.
Here.
Mr. Mapes.
Here.
Ms. Moat.
Here.
Ms. Rentschler.
Here.
Mr. Watts, not attending. Dr. Jenner.
Here, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd now like to ask for a motion, which is done annually, for our State Board of Education officer slate.
Yeah, I'll move that our esteemed colleagues at the front of the table retain their current positions, so Dr. Jenner as the chair, Katie Moat as vice chair, and then William Durham as the secretary.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, William, Katie. We'll keep at it.
Keep going.
Thank you. I'd now like to ask for a motion to approve today's agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
With a motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the December 5th, 2024 meeting?
So moved.
Second.
The motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. So a few updates for you today. First of all, thank you for being here today. We have a room full of people, which is always nice to see. So thank you very much for coming out. At the end of each year, we often spend time reflecting on what we got done last year. And 2023 was a really good year in K-12 education in terms of moving opportunities forward for kids, in terms of supporting our educators. And I wanted to I highlighted a big list. I'm not going to go over all of that. In the weekly newsletter on Friday, someone said to me, like, it kept going and going. And I'm like, I know. It was kind of shocking documenting all of that and remembering. But there were quite a few things that the State Board of Ed was really instrumental in working with stakeholders on to land. And I want to call those out specifically. One of the things is ongoing as a team, and that's rethinking the high school experience. What does that look like? You know that the State Board of Ed, we're required by state law to rule make for new high school diplomas by December of 2024. That's an incredibly tight timeline for us. We are eager to get started, and we're working with the General Assembly. Actually, testimony is today, beginning I think at 10:30. We're working with them to make sure we have the room and the flexibility to do that rulemaking. Obviously, we're not able to rule make against statute, so we need some flexibility in there. That is in House Bill 1243, one of several things. But the board continues to work on that. Stakeholders continue to be involved, and we need that in order to best land the future of Indiana's diplomas. Second thing, Indiana graduates prepared to succeed. We've talked about that, and we've delivered on it for the past 2 to 3 years. And we shared that this dashboard is going to be a little bit unique because it's going to be nimble. We'll keep updating it based on feedback. So we had several pieces that have been updated. Those updates will continue. A couple that I'll call out is showing longitudinal data for student populations. allowing the general public, educators, community leaders to interact with that data. That's one of several things. Obviously, we have another for 2024 that we'll be able to call out, and that is, there's a better name for it, but it's our at-risk indicators that will help schools to see early and often if a student is struggling. So for example, if they're not passing reading, if they're chronically absent, those are all early signs that they may not graduate. So that build out is happening now. Thirdly, we were charged as a State Board of Education to streamline all of our content area academic standards. That is a massive task. So English, social studies, science, and math were all streamlined, and standards in each core area were reduced by 25%. That was approved by the State Board in June of 2023, which then triggered the State Board of Ed to say, okay, anytime you change standards, that immediately causes us to look at assessment, because you can't assess over something that's not taught. So the board, with stakeholder feedback, has leveraged that moment to signal and build out a through-year assessment with 3 specific checkpoints so that parents and teachers know where their child is throughout the year, and not just at the very end with that summative data point. That will also be a part of the bill today being heard this morning, House Bill 1243. So thank you to the State Board of Ed, and we talk about this often, but a huge thank you for all of the stakeholders who continue to be a partner in improving Indiana's education for kids. Finally, I want to call out the 3rd grade literacy visualization tool that we discussed as a State Board of Ed in December. Went live on Monday night. I know some of our folks worked through the weekend because we talked to some educators who had some ideas to make it better. So I'll call out David Buzzy specifically. I was getting texts from him all weekend about the dashboard, but it is now officially live. We press released that yesterday. I'm getting pinged a lot from folks who have actually gone on and taken a look. It looks at our literacy statewide, and not just in the aggregate form. It looks at specific community levels. So you'll see heat maps of the entire state for pass rate. You'll see heat maps for students who are not able to read, who are being promoted. But it just gives us a sense of where are we today, which is so important to know in order to improve. So that is now live. I encourage you to take a look. Following the consent agenda today, we'll hear from a couple of different school corporations. And by the way, really it's broader community. It's community partnership. We'll hear from the Lafayette community, and we'll also hear from the Perry Central community. So on that note, I'll ask if there are any other board member comments. Hearing none, let's shift to public comment. I will invite Jeff Dunn from the Prindle Institute at DePaul University. Come on up. And I just to say, it's a 3-minute, that's our preference. We're not going to stop you if you go a little bit over. We do have a bill being heard that I have to testify for.
I will keep it under 3.
Okay,
All right.
awesome. Thank you.
I'll try my best. So thank you very much. I'm Jeff Dunn, professor of philosophy at DePaul, also director of the Prindle Institute for Ethics at DePaul. And I'm here to voice my support for building meaningful ethics education into the high school academic experience for Indiana students. So a little bit about the Prindle Institute. We're a donor-funded, mission-driven organization. Our mission is to help people deepen their understanding of different moral perspectives and how to teach them how to think through the inescapable ethical issues that we all face. We're not an advocacy organization. We're not subscribed to a certain set of principles or ideologies. What we aim to do is give people the tools to think through for themselves the messy ethical issues we face, and give them tools to think through this together with each other. So why ethics education in the classroom? So being able to think through ethical issues and resolve differences with others is a critical skill, I think, A recent New York Times article highlights how Fortune 500 and multinational companies are investing significant resources into employee training about how to listen to each other across difference. Companies, I think, are finding that these civic skills are really critical workforce skills. A variety of academic studies suggest that ethical reasoning skills, or sometimes called moral intelligence, are an important, if not the most important, component to effective leadership, which is positively related to employee job satisfaction, organizational commitment, and mutual trust in the workplace. So I think being able to reason carefully about ethics and resolve disputes, these are critical skills. They're critical life skills, I'd argue, but they're also critical workforce skills and critical skills that we want our citizens of a democratic society to have. But these skills, I think they're taught sort of on the periphery in high school, but when they're taught, they're not taught intentionally. They're not part of the official curriculum. And I think that to hope that students will acquire these skills at the end of their high school experience, we need to be a little bit more intentional about that. So we believe that meaningful ethics education can and should be intentionally built into the high school academic experience for Indiana students. I think this fits in well with the Indiana GPS plan that the secretary mentioned. One core characteristic in that plan of a high school graduate is civic literacy. And I think ethical reasoning skills can be thought of as a key component of civic literacy. They're the skills, again, that allow us to think and work productively, even when there's disagreements about fundamental and deeply held convictions. So we've worked with Indiana high school educators across the state who want to work ethics into their classroom, and I think they see the importance of doing so. We've worked with teachers in a variety of different disciplines, from history to English, government, environmental science, forensic science, even mathematics, if you can imagine it. So I think there's a broad way to introduce this into the classroom. How am I doing on time?
I didn't even start my timer.
Okay.
I depend on the team, so.
Okay, so I'll just say we've worked with a variety of, as I mentioned, teachers across the state in schools such as Greencastle, Ben Davis, Fishers, Cloverdale. We have a presence in ethics education. We host the Indiana High School Ethics Bowl at our institute. So we really understand this area. We're excited to partner with anyone who might be interested, and just urge you to think about that component of civic literacy as you're considering the GPS plan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I see Representative Bo Baird in the same row as you. I know this is a topic close to his passion as well. Thank you for being here. We don't often get General Assembly members on this side. And
well, I believe so heavily in what they're talking about. I wanted to be here to support it today. So.
well, we sure appreciate you being here. Thank you. The other thing I'll just say, and then we have several other public comments, is for the first time in Indiana, we're partnering with the Indiana Chamber of Commerce for the Civics Bee. That is brand new. It's kind of brand new across the nation. And one of my follow-up questions I'll ask of them is, how that ethics reasoning even comes in that space as well. So thank you for coming today and lifting that topic up. We appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Kendra Johnson, an Indiana Parent for Education. Good morning.
Good morning. Happy 2024 to
Thank
the
you.
world. We're halfway through the school year, believe it or not. For some, time moves extremely quickly, like a greyhound, and for others, it moves as slow as a snail. The biggest thing that has to be done is getting priorities set. And one of the things I always share with parents as they come into, for many, the second semester or half the year, is what has been done with your student educationally or what can be done with your student educationally. Look at what has happened in the past and then plan, not just for the rest of the year, but for the next school year. Try to be 2 steps ahead instead of 1. If you can do that, you will be proactive more so than being reactive. We've already seen that one of the biggest challenges is, hate it when I lose up my thought for a second there, excuse me. But one of the biggest challenges is truancy, absenteeism. How do you combat that? Why were they absent? Medically? Was it medical reasons? Was it situations within the family? deaf. What was the situation? And what do you do to combat it? So it's all about priorities. What do you do to fix those issues and situations you have? I received a call from my grandson the other day, and he said, "Grandma, we did not see you last month. Can you make time for us before the year is out?" Well, unfortunately, I was unable to. But I made sure I made time with them before school started and asked them, what have you done in school, and what are you going to be doing now in school? The one thing that my grandchildren have always appreciated is the fact that I've always tried to see what's going on with them when it comes to life and how they should live it. So I end on this note. One of the things I saw on Facebook recently was things I wish I had been taught in school. And it talked about learning how to do taxes, learning how to be able to socialize with other people, learning other people's religion because that gave them an idea of a person's personality and their morality and how they think and their actions based on beliefs. Next month will be Black History Month. So I encourage all individuals to look up the history of and contributions of African Americans this month, starting this month. And also, the Chinese New Year will be in February. Look up the culture of Chinese individuals and see what contributions they've made. I wish you all a prosperous and a very, very successful 2024.
Thank you, Kendra. Happy New Year to you as well. Danita Dyson. Oh, okay. Is Latanya here? Latoya? Oh, Latoya? Oh, yeah, come on up, Latoya. And I tell you, I want to say your last name publicly. I just want to make sure I say it right. Can you say it for me first?
It's Tahiru.
Tahiru. Latoya Tahiru.
Yes.
Thank you for being here today. We look
Thank you
forward to
for
hearing
having
from you.
I would like to thank Secretary Jenner and the State Board of Education for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Latoya Tahiru. I have 3 beautiful children. 2 are school age and 1 has already graduated. For years now, I've advocated that kids in every neighborhood have access to great schools. I've advocated for failing schools to model after successful ones, to close the opportunity or achievement gaps, because I know all too well the gaps that exist in many of our schools. I am here today because I want to see that change, and because I believe it is important to keep our state's A through F letter grades and relaunch an accountability system that puts the proper focus on closing unjust opportunity gaps. A through F grades for schools and districts are a system people know, and these grades, when they meant something, helped parents like me choose our schools, as well as advocate for positive changes in our struggling schools. It provides a sense of urgency around the schools that need more supports and resources, and our children receiving a great education is urgent. The quality education my children do or do not receive is a catalyst for them to have a better life, a life of poverty, or a life of prosperity. Consider a single-parent households. Consider the kids who come from great disparities. And consider families who do not speak English before you consider moving forward with an accountability system. People who live in struggling communities are already bogged down with life struggles. These families need a simplified system. That's why A through F grades, school accountabilities are important. I remember sitting in my oldest daughter's elementary cafeteria at a very important meeting. They had media there and everything. And as I sat there, they talked about how the school was failing. I sat there in tears because this was a school that I was hopeful that will finally be a good fit for her. This school I was one time excited for her to attend had been failing for years. As they read the statistics, I felt hopeless. She had already been to several schools, all in an effort to find the right fit for her. But I knew that my voice mattered in making positive change. I also knew that the school was in transition. A model was put in place to help turn the school around. I learned about A through F grading system around this time, and it was a driver for the change I continue to advocate for. Since that meeting, I've spoken to many press conferences and at school board meetings to count. I've advocated for high-quality schools in every corner of my community in every way I know how. I was able to place my 2 youngest children in a school that is the right fit for them, a school doing a much better job of closing the opportunity gaps compared to other schools around us. As you work to revamp the current system that has been stuck in giving out null grades, I hope there are no plans to abolish the A through F system. Instead, I would like to see it improved. I would like to see more transparency around the data that determines the letter grade. I would like to see an opportunity gap data count towards a school's grade. Parents need to know how schools are doing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just a point of clarification, and that topic is very important to the board as well. We want every child to have access to a quality education. The General Assembly has charged the Department of Education to provide recommendations for the future of accountability with A to F. It's specifically in statute, with A to F to be considered. We have to have that that's due December of 2024. We have a lot of December 2024 due dates. It's going to be a big year. So appreciate your feedback as always, and we agree it needs to be improved, and it also needs to be a simple system for parents to understand. We think the Indiana GPS is a great start, so how do we leverage some of that data and continue to improve upon it? So thank you. Leno Lewis Dickerson, is she also not here yet? Maybe she can come in a future meeting. We'd love to hear her feedback, or I'd be glad to meet with the two of them since they weren't able to make it. Thank you. All right, on that note, let's move to consent agenda.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
And I believe we may have some recusals, so I want to pause. I see all of you all nodding. Okay, it must be from this side of the room. Okay, can you say, Iris, Ms. Hamill, what are you recusing from?
Item I, the charter school.
Item I?
Item I.
Mr. Best, item I?
Item I.
And Mr. Durham, item I? Mr. Gastineau?
Item J.
Thank goodness you didn't say item I, because I'm telling you, we got to have somebody to vote on this thing. Item J, Mr. Gastineau is recusing, and Ms. DeLosa, I bet you're also item I.
Yes, ma'am, item I.
So we have 4 board members not able to vote on consent item I. Do we have enough? I'm gonna quickly count. Bear with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We do. We're good, right? I'm looking at, are we good? Let's do this. We're going to vote on it. We're going to move it based on what we have today. And then if we need to come back and vote again, then we'll be good to go. But with recusals, it is what it is. And
We have a
BJ's.
majority who can vote on it, who's present at the meeting.
Yeah. I like what Pat just said, but we'll run the traps legally as well. Don't worry. But let's move forward with the consent agenda. Do I have a motion? I already have a motion and a second to approve. We have all the recusals on the table. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. And again, we will absolutely fact check ourselves. If we need to bring it back, we will. But thank you, board, for that. Just give BJ Watts a hard time for being on vacation this week. Text him. No, I'm kidding. All right, let's shift to, I think, something that we truly enjoy the most, and that's hearing from our schools and our communities. And so today, we have a couple of local and business partnership highlights that from around the state that we'd like to share One is from Lafayette, Indiana. So we'll ask you to come first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Dr. Laurie Reinhardt, and I am the Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Education at the Lafayette School Corporation. It is truly an honor and pleasure to be here speaking to you today. The Greater Lafayette Career Plus team is composed of over 80 employers, 21 schools, the Greater Lafayette Chamber of Commerce, Ivy Tech Community College, our technical partner SkyPack, and our technical partner SkyPack. On behalf of this team, I'm here to thank the Indiana Department of Education, the State Board of Ed, and Representative Chuck Goodrich, the author of House Enrolled Act 1002, co-authors Representative Robert Benning, Representative Michelle Davis, and Representative Wendy McNamara, and House Enrolled Act 1002 sponsors Senator Jeff Ratz, Senator Chris Garton, and Senator Linda Rogers for providing the inspiration and continued strategic guidance on the evolution of the Career Plus program in Greater Lafayette. This program began with a strategic investment by the Indiana Department of Education through the Student Learning Recovery Grant Program and was extended through the Explore, Experience, and Engage grant. We would also like to thank Dr. Jason Callahan and Ms. Flora Jones for their trust in us to develop a program designed to provide extraordinary opportunities to the students of Greater Lafayette. To help you learn a little bit more about our program, I'd like to introduce you to Kara Webb. Mrs. Webb is the Director of Workforce Development in the Greater Lafayette Chamber of Commerce. It is through her relationships with schools, employers, and key community partners that Career Plus was able to move from an idea to a locally created pathway. Ms. Webb?
Thank you. I am thrilled to be here, and thank you for having us. Thanks, Dr. Reinhardt. I'm a believer that relationships can move mountains, and the mountain that we challenged ourselves with Career Plus was a blessing because it brought together and it established our council, Workforce 2030, which is the council under Greater Lafayette Commerce, which covers the Greater Lafayette region, so the entire county plus 9 counties that surround us. This team of educators, employers, and community members all have a passion for developing our existing and future workforce. The grant would see the necessary action in our community to fill over the 8,000 jobs that are projected in advanced manufacturing, healthcare, and logistics. So with a yes vote and subsequent approval by IDOE, the Career Plus became a reality. Career Plus is a single term that we use to represent our belief that all students, especially those furthest from opportunity, should be empowered to graduate from high school in locally available, in-demand gateway jobs or college internships. These jobs and internships offer debt-free pathways to career credentials and college degrees. Every step taken towards a degree accelerates students' earning potential and opportunities for career advancement. Our K-14 vision is to create an ecosystem capable of engaging 80% of the youth in meaningful opportunities for career-connected learning and level 1 or level 2 work-based learning.
Career Plus serves Lafayette School Corporation in students grades 7 through 12. The program consists of 3 micro-credentials that stack into 3 college credits transferable to any applied associate's degree program at Ivy Tech Community College. Each micro-credential is designed to be embedded in classes that students are already taking. The curriculum helps students master critical employability skills, explore next-level programs of study that are offered by the Greater Lafayette community, Greater Lafayette Career Academy, develop or modify their 4-year high school plans, and participate in a series of Career Plus experiences. Career Plus chats virtually connect our classrooms to employers across the region to help students learn more about in-demand careers. Career Plus tours give our students the opportunity to get out of the classroom and to go on site with the employers that they're learning about. Additionally, Career Plus rotations provide students with the opportunity to learn about different entry-level jobs or actually spend the day climbing the ladder of success with prospective employers. During this experience, students shadow an entry-level employee, a mid-level employee, and then a senior-level employee, mimicking what a possible career progression could look like for them. All of this is done to spark an interest and designed to help students discover the true promise of Career Plus, which is debt-free pathways to career credentials and college degrees to help them accelerate their earning potential and opportunities for career advancement. So how did we get here? In April of 2023, we submitted an application to make Career Plus a locally created pathway. The application reflected what we knew we could deliver upon at the time. To the credit of Dr. Callahan and Ms. Jones, they returned in July with a simple message. We're committed to working towards a yes, but please include a 75-hour work-based learning requirement in your model. Initially, this felt daunting. But over the months that followed, the challenge opened up new discussions with regional employers, local economic development organizations, Ivy Tech Community College, and our technical partner, SkyPack. By November, we had created a two-pathway LCP that represented a good to great strategy for blurring the lines between high school, college, and career. So the two pathways we have up there.
Can you pause?
Yes, ma'am.
Because I think that slide is really, really important.
Sure.
That took a lot of perseverance from you to not be like,
Yes, ma'am.
and we're done, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And to really think, okay, high expectations for students. We need to engage community business. How could this look? So I just want to compliment you. Our team is, Jason and Ms. Jones have kept me briefed on the progress and the phone calls and the back and forth to try to get there. And I just want to applaud you for that work to make it better for students. You said it.
Thank you.
But that was some real work. And some board members even were engaged in some of this through phone calls. So I want to applaud you for that.
Thank you.
And for others out there who are listening, we don't have a great viewership, but I always like to say, for all of you listening out there, the five.
I greatly appreciate that.
Keep pushing. We'll help you get to yes, but we're going to keep that expectation high for students.
Absolutely,
So,
and that was
thank you for
that was
mentioning
very
that.
clear from Ms. Jones and Dr. Callahan that the expectation was going to remain high, but they were going to work with us, and that they did, and we persevered.
Yes.
And moving on to the next slide here, you'll see our two pathways that we were able to create here. The key difference between the two models is the type of engagement students have with the employers. While we would like our students to be able to jump immediately to Pathway 2, it's not feasible without some transition and planning time. Pathway 1 allows students an on-ramp, if you will, to get to that desired high-quality work-based learning experiences that we want for our students. Not only does this transition allow the 4-year planning process to be reviewed and updated for our students, it also allows our community employers an opportunity to transition to providing the experiences that we're asking of them, because it is a lot. Excuse me. We believe the opportunity for this transition is incredibly important for both our students and our community employers. To help you understand a little bit more about the impact we believe this two-pathway model will have on our community, I'd like to introduce to you our biggest workforce champion, partner, and friend, Dr. Erin Bowdy, Chancellor of Ivy Tech Community College.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having us here today. This work's so important. We all know that letting kids leave high school with no plan or real employment skills is a problem, and they're not making good choices now. And especially in a community like ours, it's a manufacturing community. It will continue to be a manufacturing community. Most of the high volume industry we come in is semiconductor, biopharm, and other things. Our kids don't know. They don't know what's made there. They don't understand what the terms are. They don't understand what the opportunities are. Our accounting students, for example, say, well, there's no accounting jobs in Lafayette. And they're like, wait, what? Well, Deloitte and Touche isn't here. And, you know, I'm like, no, there's accountants literally at almost every place. But they
Especially
don't know
this
that.
time of year, right?
Yeah.
Need it.
But they don't know that unless they get into a Wabash National. Like, wait a minute, you make the most trailers in the nation? Yes. What else is here? Well, we have human resource people, we have finance people, we have purchasing people. We have a lot of jobs here that don't have anything to do with putting trailers on, or tires on trailers. So give them that knowledge that these are really great jobs that they would have not have seen. But better yet, it's those relationships with the frontline workers, the supervisors and HR, that they start to have real conversations. Why are you here? You know, those answers may vary. But they're going to talk a lot about supporting themselves, building a life, and getting those kids to understand, ooh, man, I guess I should probably start thinking about that. Asking questions, understanding what the expectations are. I always say, and I'm an educator, and I was over supply chain, but I can only teach so much in a classroom at Ivy Tech about supply chain. I can tell you what, they get in a facility in that high pace, see what's going on, and getting really held accountable. Like, we'll say, hey, you can't have your cell phone on. Hey, you can't have your cell phone on. I mean, they're probably going to be asked to leave at some employers. Get your stuff, head home, decide if you want to come back tomorrow and work. I mean, those things have impact. So we need the high schoolers to get that so they will end up better students, better off when they leave. And then lastly, the pathways. The micro-credential embedded in this is not only to prepare them for the workplace and help them proceed, but it is also a crosswalk for hope. I always say hope, skills, and a plan. If we can give 18-year-olds that leaving high school, that's awesome. Part of that is the skills and the hope, but the plan. Okay, I have this micro-credential, where does it apply? It applies in all these high-demand, high-wage careers. You can select one and do some investigation before you leave high school. But then build that CT that they'll get in the high school to a TC, to a transfer degree, or a 2-year degree at Ivy Tech. It just really is getting them on the path, because we just have too many leaving high school saying they have a plan. The counselors, the high schools are all doing their best, but the kids, they're just hard to track out. But when we put them in with employers, we get feedback on the kids. And lastly, I just want to say, we just had put a group of kids together in our area with some employers, and there were half the kids were a nightmare because they didn't understand. But we had to meet with the parents. We had to meet with the kids. We ended up kicking all of them out and telling them they could reapply next year. They were juniors because their behavior was so bad. The parents were horrified, but at least there was a conversation about their kids' behavior, immaturity, being a professional, and things that need to happen for them to be successful in this world. That happened amongst educators, parents, and kids. Those are the conversations that need to take place, but we don't find out where the gaps are, and parents can't find out where the gaps are just living with their kid and them going to school. They have to get in the workplace where they're going to spend an enormity of their lives and produce for this economy. We need them ready to go before they leave high school. But thank you again for listening to us today and all the support we got. And I just can't say enough. I was waiting for Jason to come on and say, man, you guys again, do you work for us? What, are they? But we do appreciate the support we got from Flora Jones and Jason, so we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that like
Thank you.
grand finale? Got it. Hey, thank you.
We're happy to entertain any questions.
Yeah, let's do that.
And we did bring our boots on the ground for any questions that want to talk to anybody.
Great. Well, why don't you just quickly introduce them while it gives the board a minute to think if they have any questions.
Yeah, so our career advisors are in all of our high schools, and they're there to work with students, and their supervisor is Brooklyn Burton. She's a new title, so let me get it right, Vice Chancellor of Economic and Workforce Development. And so they work in the high schools. Amy Hanna is our industry coordinator, so she works a lot with our industry partners to help with setting up our Career Plus experiences. So yeah, so ask away. They're ready to share whatever you'd like to learn.
Mr. Bess.
I just have a comment. I'm going to reiterate, Dr. Jenner, what you said earlier. I think from a process standpoint, sometimes when people deal with state agencies, the expectation is it's a bureaucracy, there's rules, you can't get at it. And I think the fact that, you know, the initial proposal, as you mentioned when it came in, and frankly, Pathway 1 isn't very strong, right? I think we all look at that and go, that's nowhere near the rigor that we would expect to have. But the fact that, again, Dr. Callahan and Flora and you all stuck with it, right? And didn't just say, well, hey, you know, you submitted it, we've reviewed it, it's not good enough, no. But actually started work with, because the idea that you all had was really worth pursuing. And I think the fact that, again, you have a state agency who says, look, what do we want to get to? What kind of outcome do we want? Well, we want a more rigorous outcome, so let's work with the folks to get there. And I think Pathway 2 is a really good example of something that I would love to have us, I mean, first of all, I would love for every student to have that experience, not just those who are opting out of one of the other pathways, right? I think that as we look at diploma requirements and things like that, I think this is a good example of how things like that might fold in. But I just wanted to, I really appreciate you guys working with phasing out Pathway 1 so that in 4 years we don't have students who won't have as rigorous experience and as meaningful of experience as they will once they get into Pathway 2. And I get the transition piece is important. So again, kudos to the department for working through that. Kudos to you all for working through that. And I'd love to see this, not just in the Lafayette area, but expand in other places. So I just wanted to comment on that and say thank you. What I think is really important, and I know from conversations I've had, and this is maybe my question now to those that are on the ground, the program looks really promising. Love it. I would love to hear in a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, what are the outcomes from it? So not just students graduating with a pathway. That's honestly, that's like checking a box. Like you're just going down and saying, 75 hours, you did this, you did that. But what are the actual outcomes of those students who did get hired? Did they persist? Did they advance? Right? And I think I understand, this is my question, you all are planning to track that?
That is correct, yes. Yes, that is correct. We have a mechanism for tracking that, for tracking those students and tracking those outcomes, and we would be happy to come back and share those outcomes with you.
That'd be terrific. And again, we also should see it in the longitudinal data in GPS. We should also be able to see that on the state side. So hopefully that can kind of meld those two together. Because if this is good, which we think it is, we should see those outcomes from students who maybe today are not experiencing that kind of employment and advancement. We should start to see that grab hold, and we should see the employers in Lafayette going, wait, there's a difference.
Yes, that is our move from good to great.
Awesome, thank you.
And one thing you will know about us folks in Lafayette, we are persistent, so.
I like it.
Thank you again.
Ms. Hamill.
Yeah, just a super quick question, and I love this. I think this is how we've inspired kids to stay local and invest in the community and become the future leaders of the community, so I'm super excited to see the outcomes. Just a quick question. I always think about these things and moving students to all these awesome places. How do you tackle transportation? Just more for like other schools thinking about this. How do we tackle that? Or how are you tackling that?
Sure, great question. Well, we are quite fortunate within the Lafayette School Corporation to be pretty compact. So some of the events that you'll see in our application, such as the Hire Me event, is actually in the fairgrounds, which is a walk over from us. But we've also been able to use some grant funding for other school corporations that are participating in those events to help provide transportation. So we do not want transportation to be a barrier. So that is something that, that we certainly try to take care of.
Thank you. Ms. Moat.
Did you have your hand
Go
up?
ahead.
Oh, did you, were you first, Ms. Rentschler? Please.
Okay. I'm really interested in the micro-credentials that you guys have built in. Can you tell us a little bit about those, and do those happen at the high school, in the workforce? As someone who's involved in developing these programs for the school that I work for, obviously I would love to hear all about those.
Absolutely. So our first micro-credential is the Next Level Programs of Study, and that's actually in the PCC class, Preparing for College and Careers, which we actually teach at the 8th grade level, which is fantastic because we are exposing them to all NLPS pathways and those specific pathways that are of interest and need in our community, like Ms. Webb mentioned, such as the manufacturing and the healthcare and supply chain and logistics. The other micro-credentials we have embedded in other courses at the high school that students are already taking. So we did choose 2 courses to embed them in. Both were within the CTE realm, just to start with, but they really could be moved into just about any course, because certainly employability skills can tie into standards of many courses. So the NLPS, the first micro-credential is in 8th grade, and then the other 2 would be in courses that are within the high school.
My question was similar to Kristen's, but Kristen, I want to make sure you don't have any follow-up on that.
No, I'm good,
You're
thanks.
good, okay. I'm also really interested in the micro-credentials, but wanted to sort of respond to Mr. Bess's thoughts and comments. It feels like it's super important beyond the results that you've been able to obtain in your persistence in developing these pathways, how much flexibility there was for you to create something that met the needs of your community and your students. And so, as Dr. Jenner mentioned at the beginning, so important for us as we are getting ready to move into this to be advocates for flexibility, and any additional comments you can provide throughout that process about your experience.
Absolutely.
Will be, I think, critical as we're moving through this legislative session.
Absolutely. Something that kind of, I guess, led us to creating this pathway to begin with, when Kara and I were speaking, was that we had students that they can't make it into the Career Academy due to the number of credits that they need to earn. So many kids that are freshmen, they make mistakes and they mess up, and we're trying really hard to educate them in the junior high age to understand that credits matter, grades matter, but some of them don't get it and they don't understand it. And so then even with summer school and remediation and things of that nature, they're not able to have that half of day experience to either do the work-based learning, the high quality work-based learning that we want, or to be a CTE concentrator. So what we did with these micro-credentials is strategically place those in classes that students are already taking. So we embedded them in those courses to provide that flexibility. Again, this is during this transition time, and we certainly hope that we are going to be able to eventually get all kids into that work-based learning experience or into that CTE concentrator. But this flexibility provided us some transition time, and we are extremely grateful for the grace that was provided to us in this pathway.
I really appreciate you mentioning the strategy of embedding the skills into an existing course, because we only have so much time in the day, and that also feels like an important piece for us to be thinking about as we move through this. The other wonder I had, and maybe this already exists, so I say this cautiously because there's probably work going on that I don't know about, but do we have any existing sort of technical assistance or some other peer-to-peer network, as we want this to be greater to scale? And you had to do an awful lot of work to get this to this point, and you navigated a lot of barriers, and you've used really impactful strategies to get this done. Is there a way, do we have availability to leverage these schools and districts that are doing this in a way to help one another so we're not repeating all of the lessons and the struggle, especially with the micro-credential process, which is pretty rigorous as well?
Yeah, so great question, and we would love to be able to share out all the work that we've done and not make it duplicative for someone else, but to just help us all to grow much easier. There is a system that our education partner, SkyPack, has developed. It's a software system, and so it's really I'm not going to do it justice, but it is very intuitive in looking at and pulling out data and helping us to stay within our plan, but also to expand, to bring in all those new additions. And flexibility is key because we serve so many different school districts where we're very rural, very rural. Seeger is out in the middle of, the heart of everything we need to eat, right? Yeah. And so we have a much different order that would happen there, and then and then more specifically urban in the Tippecanoe County. But we're in all of those counties, so flexibility has been key. But it is already a set system and has that ability to flex into another community. So that would be a great lift to be able to share that. So I'm a believer in whatever we develop needs to be able to be expanded to other areas. So that's been the work that SkyPack has been able to accomplish for us.
And just to maybe add to this a bit, I think the technical assistance piece is something that we are lacking right now. Right now, it really is still like seeds of good that are growing based on the change agents in that local community. And by the way, I think there's a value for not only technical assistance for schools beyond what Jason Callahan, Flora Jones, and team provide, right? A tiny team, but something more systematic for schools and also for business industry. There's a significant appetite in that area because they're going to have to be nimble with this as well. As they're interested in developing a talent pipeline differently, they're going to need some technical assistance too. So I think you just pointed out something that we need to continue to be mindful of and build out. Something like this, it's definitely not going to be perfect at the start. It's not. We're nowhere near perfect at this point, so a lot of opportunity to grow. Thanks for adding another action item to our list, Katie Mo.
Anytime.
Just kidding. Yeah, please, jump in.
Hi, good morning. Brooklyn Byrne with Ivy Tech, Vice Chancellor of Workforce and Economic Development. I just wanted to add, as we talk about the technical assistance with the micro-credentials, we do have with us, we have Kimba and Katarina with us. They're our career advisors. They're boots on the ground. They're working one-on-one with these students, and they're working with the administration at the school. So I think as we talk about developing these micro-credentials, they're a really critical part in successfully getting these implemented, getting them socialized, and getting the assistance that they need with the administration as well as the students, right? They're really building that career relevance and making these connections with the students. And I hope that through that, we're gonna see them be successful at school and then continue that journey possibly into post-secondary and with an employer where they can really build a beautiful blend of the two with the tuition assistance and carry on their education, build skills, and hopefully retain at that employer as well. And so as we talk about the micro-credentials, which are huge, we also have the career advisors, and they're really a key critical part to this. They're also utilizing the micro-credentials through the Career Plus experience and Career Plus chat that Amy Hanna has really had a great focus on, as well as Kara. They're getting those surveys. That's the data that's getting entered so that we get the feedback in regards to what are their interests and doing that really early skill ID. So I just wanted to add that as we really think about technical assistance and implementation. That's really another key part to this as well. And it really blends and complements what we're doing with the micro-credentials and the integration of that.
Thank you. And I know that we could continue on for a while. I do want to look at Dr. Ernest and Ms. DeLosa to see if you have any questions or comments. And then, okay, thank you. So at this time, thank you, Team Lafayette. Really appreciate your being here. And we'll be watching and cheering you on. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll now invite the team from Perry Central to come on up. What's really interesting as they come up to get set up is, so here we had more of an urban school corporation with Lafayette, and now we're about to get as rural as can be with Perry Central. And I always point out, just to give folks context, Perry Central is kind of in the middle or right on the outside of Hoosier National Forest. There's not a stoplight in Perry Central. Like, and they are a rural school that just continues to elevate, and you're a model for us. So, and by the way, I'm thrilled. We are thrilled to see the students here too. So thank you.
So yeah, well, thank you for having us. It's an honor to be here. I'm Jody French, principal at Perry Central Junior Senior High School. And we've learned to say that we're not in the middle of nowhere, we're in the middle of everywhere. So
You are in the middle of everywhere.
That's right. We're about an hour from anywhere you want to be. So But it's a beautiful place, and we're very proud of the work that our students have been doing. Just to kind of continue a little bit about Perry Central. We are a very small school. We're less than 1,200 students now, pre-K through 12. We are around 42% free and reduced lunch. We've been in early college, high school since 2017, and about 35 to 40% on average will earn the Indiana College Core. And this year we're going to have 3 or so associate's degrees. And I'm really excited about that. I never thought that would happen because of our location. We have to get really creative, and we have great teachers that have have done a lot of extra work for that. So we're really excited about that. We do have 12 career pathways that are aligned to next level programs and study. I added one of our pathway booklets on your desk earlier, so you can see that. But all of those are aligned to Ivy Tech certificates, industry-based certifications, and we're going to talk about the work-based learning experiences that we strive for students to have. We do a lot of personalized learning and flexible scheduling. A couple of things that are at the top of our internship program. Because of our location and travel, our students have, and 75% of our seniors will have an internship that's aligned to their next level programs of study pathway. And they go once a week. So every Wednesday for most of our students, our seniors are not in the building. They are out and about, and they get a full day experience. And that's worked really well for us.
And pausing, I think we saw just today 2 very different approaches to how to expose students to career opportunities and help them to experience career opportunities. And that's the kind of creativity that we need. It's not feasible for your students to drive to Vanderbilt County or Evansville every day, even though their career interests might be there, which is why you were taking one single day to do that.
Right, and the flexibility that allows that to happen. So, yes, and then some evening courses. For example, we offer a welding class on Wednesday nights, and we have 12 students that stay in the evenings, and then we provide, and we have evening transportation that we can kind of hook up to as well. And we just really believe that academic rigor plus technical skills equals success, and that's what we're trying to help our students achieve. So today we just wanted to talk a little bit about the work-based learning. That's a big term that's going on right now across Indiana, and those experiences that students have, we want them to have. We use a variety of work-based learning experiences for our students just to ensure that they have those opportunities. They include, you'll hear today about workplace challenges. That's where a company will come in and present a problem to students, and then the students have to figure it out, and they present it back to that company, a solution. School-based enterprises, career-aligned internships. We have a pre-apprenticeship program and a DOL-approved apprenticeship. And when we did the math, we had to go in and mark all of our students and the work-based learning experiences that they had achieved. The class of 2023, 89 of 93 students had a work-based learning experience, and so we're really excited about that, and we hope that those levels continue to go up. We've been really paying attention, and not only are we paying attention to the work that's here, because, but we see this work as being really a way to change students' lives and to make education purposeful. And I always say that learning should be fun, and so they should be enjoying learning what they are passionate about and learning what they're good at. And so the work that's happening is really helping our students be able to do that. And these guys are I'm going to let them talk because they are the experts. So we'll just have you introduce yourselves when you come up to the mic, since we have this. So I'm going to turn it over to our students, and they're going to start with Commodore Manufacturing.
All right. I'm Lucas Harth. I'm a senior at Perry Central, and this is Commodore Manufacturing. So Commodore Manufacturing is a student-led manufacturing facility that serves as a vendor for local companies. Commodore Manufacturing started up 7 years ago with partnerships from Jasper Engines and Wapaka Foundry. The big idea of this class is to help kids with work-based learning that transfers to credible credentials.
Hey, good morning. I'm Gavin Wallace, and I'm a junior. So this is a list of all the partners that we've worked with in the past and present. And currently our main two partners is Wapaka Foundry and Boston International. So Wapaka Foundry is the largest employer in our area. It's the world's largest gray iron casting supplier. And they produce a variety of different parts for the automobile industry.
So in Commodore Manufacturing, we have two main products. We have our basket feed on the right and our hand plungers on the left. So hand plungers come to us in 20-foot pieces of rebar that we cut down to 10 foot and 10 foot. After that, it's sent to the welding booth where we weld a 4-inch head on the end. After it's all welded, it goes and gets checked, gets quality checked for holes and just holes, yeah. Okay, sorry. Okay, so they get checked for holes because whenever Wapaka gets them, and if a weld has a hole in it and has moisture and they stick it in their molten metal, it could possibly explode and level the plant. So we have to check for that. And after it's all checked and ready to go, we spray paint it green. We spray paint it green because we've had multiple problems where Wapaka called us and they said a whole batch was wrong, but they weren't spray painted green, so it was not ours. And we
So
ship
your
out.
quality is good.
Yes.
Yes,
Never
I
had
like
a problem.
it.
And we ship out 225 hand plungers every week. Okay, so this is a list of all the products that we've made in the past that we manufacture during our class periods. And the main two at the moment we make for Wapaka is the two that we just shown, the 4-inch hand plungers with the 10-foot piece of rebar and the basket feet. And we currently make 225 of the hand plungers every single week in the class. And then if we have any extra time and we get around to it, we'll make as many basket feet as we can and we send them to Wapaka too.
Boston International, they are a local company that specializes in the gift industry. They had came to us because they were getting these displays from China during COVID, and they lost their supplier for it. So they came to our engineering team and had them design several different displays that were able to collapse down and fit for shipping. They picked a design from our engineering team and brought it over to us in manufacturing, and we created a business plan for them and gave them prices, and they are now one of our biggest partners. Boston International, they also came to us needing this tile jig here. This tile jig is originally they could only print on these tiles one tile at a time. They had to wrap a piece of paper around the tile and put it in a heat press. Now with the jig, they can just lay the tiles in the jig and lay the pieces of paper on top, and now they can produce 12 at a time, greatly improving their ability to produce these. We also make some of our own custom products. So there's like a rocking chair we made for the kindergarten. We also make like signs and trophies for companies in the school. All our management is done by the students, so we have a team leader. They establish our goals and like how much we need to produce. They monitor those goals to make sure we're reaching them, and they're always looking for improvements to see how we can improve our production. We also have a quality captain. They are the people that are actually inspecting the plungers for the holes and painting them. They are also in charge of training people on how to make sure they do the inspections. And we have a safety specialist. They are there to maintain our emergency procedures. They also provide training and safety, and they maintain our OSHA requirements. And we also have a lead designer and CNC operator. They look, when someone has something they need to design, they would be the people that would design it and cut it out on our CNC machines.
So if all of this is done by students, which is fantastic, what is the teacher's role look like in this class that might be different from another class?
His role, he mainly just makes sure he just kind of makes sure it doesn't go into chaos.
Yeah, that's important. That sounds about right. Every day. Yeah. Well, and the reason I bring that up is because a lot of the Rethinking High School discussion has been really giving students more ownership of their learning, which you just described. And that, quite frankly, it empowers the teacher in many ways to support students in a different way. including what you just shared. So thank you for sharing that.
All right, so since the creation of Commodore Manufacturing, the class has made well over $280,264.51 in product. Students keep 60% of the profit, and 40% goes back to the class for new tools, new machines, and better PPE. Average pay for a student ranges from $2,000 to $3,000 per year, and that is determined by attendance and how much product we put out.
And is that provided via scholarship at the end of the year, or is that paid throughout the year?
It's a stipend at the end of each semester.
A stipend at the end of each semester. I asked that because other school corporations who have been interested in this have talked about we have a limitation of paying students if you do this model, so you stipend or you scholarship at the end of the term or the year. That makes sense. Thank you.
So Commodore Manufacturing just runs on the Advanced Manufacturing Pathway Next Level Programs of Study with the industrial maintenance mechanical pathway is what we use. And it is aligned to, we have Ivy Tech dual credits aligned to Ivy Tech, the technical certificates, but also an official DOL approved apprenticeship. And we've had one student complete that. And so we're working to continue building capacity for that. It's really exciting though. Our next program is going to be Commodore Engineering. We utilize Project Lead the Way for for our engineering pathway. But our students utilize, and along with that, we have an additive manufacturing class that just kind of sits out there. But we're using that as our enterprise and application class, basically. So they're going to talk to you a little bit about their student enterprise program with engineering.
So my name's Hunter Kellums. I'm a junior at Perry Central. In our additive manufacturing class, we have multiple different types of 3D printers, and we work with Autodesk and their CAD software. So we have one main type of 3D printer we have is a FDM printer. It's fused deposition modeling. We use those printers to build and rapid prototype multiple different designs companies come to us for. We use our Ender 3s as a more intro level printer. They're a small desktop printer, cheap for beginners to get in and get the basics before breaking the bank. And we also have 3 industrial grade printers. We have a U-Print, an F370, and a MakerBot method. They bring us more materials and different strengths and weaknesses and different types of materials that we can print with. They also come with industry recognized certifications that we could follow with those printers and complete within the class. We also just got a Markforged printer. It is different from the normal FDM printer because it uses continuous fiber reinforcement. The continuous fiber reinforcement can lay down fiberglass, carbon fiber, or Kevlar to strengthen the part in one big piece of fiber more than chopped fiber in the filament, and it makes the part a lot stronger. We also have an Objet 30, which is a PolyJet printer, and an Lego Jupiter. Those are both resin printers. The Lego Jupiter is more a desktop style resin printer, and the Objet is more of a industry grade resin printer. The Lego Jupiter, it's called an SLA printer. It uses resin and it sits in a vat of resin, and the build tray goes into that pool of resin and uses a laser to cure the resin on the build plate in each layer, and it builds the part pretty well upside down. And
just the vocabulary you're using to describe this career interest is unbelievable. I mean, I'm having to really lean into like try to understand it. I'll be honest with you. Really nice job. Keep going.
So I brought 2 parts here. These parts can represent like our difference in materials. I got a flexible material that we printed with, and I have a part that we printed with on the Markforged with carbon fiber. This one I want you guys to break. I don't think you can.
We have some competitive folks. Let's try it.
I'm going to pass these around, and I'm going to let you guys try and break the stick.
All right. We're ready. Somebody do it. Come on.
Iris is ready.
Come on, Iris.
Through the additive manufacturing class, we are gaining industry partners like ATTC. So ATTC came to us.
If you could speak a little bit, because of folks listening, they need this mic. Thank you.
ATTC came to us because a company that previously made these gas caps for them, they quit making them. So we had to take these caps and redesign them in CAD, and then we printed them on the printers and sent them off.
Another company we worked for is CES, which is a local engineering and surveying company. They needed us to manufacture and design spray paint can holders that they can use out in the field. So we designed these in CAD software and printed them with the fiberglass reinforcement so that they're extra durable in the field.
So we had another local company come to us seeking a redesign in their universal jigs. They are a aerospace company that builds heat exchangers for big airplanes and big machines. They came to us for us to design a big universal jig for them to fit all of their heat exchangers. Right now they have to have a jig for each and every one of their heat exchangers, and they have hundreds of different types of heat exchangers. So we are trying to design a compact jig that they can build every single one of their heat exchangers in. So we can help them save time and use all their efficiency to their maximum ability, and we can clear up a lot of space in their facility from all the jigs that they have to have for every different type of heat exchanger.
So these 3D printers, they give us a lot of design freedom, and so if we can draw it in the CAD programs, we can build it. So then there's also rapid prototyping. This saves the companies a lot of time and money, and you can also make jigs and fixtures with them, and we have a more wide variety of material we can use to print stuff, like the Kevlar and the flexible material.
And if you want to pass that around to the audience, maybe someone out there could break it since the board could not.
They couldn't break it. The last program we'll touch on just briefly is Commodore Construction. We use the Commodore Construction, or the Construction Trades Carpentry pathway with next level programs of study. And it is a certified pre-apprenticeship model. So our students will have that certification when they leave, and I'm gonna turn it over to our students.
Last year in our civil engineering and architecture class, Habitat for Humanity presented a project for the students. They needed to create a floor plan in Revit, which is a Autodesk software, to meet a floor plan for the requirements for a local community member. So after sending it to Habitat and them sending it back with some more constraints that needed to be met, we redrew it and sent it to construction to begin building.
So once construction got the floor plan, we had to decide, where are we going to build this house? And we decided to build it in our shop because we do not have enough school time to go to Tell City 15 minutes down the road every single day, take a bus, just not enough time for other classes. So we are building it into 2 pieces in our garage with a hinged roof. The home will be 95% done when we're done, and it'll have plumbing, drywall, cabinets, doors, and windows before we even ship it out. And we'll ship it out by crane, and it'll be traveled down the road by trailer, and it'll be set up with a crane in Tell City. It should be done around April or May.
So lastly, I'd just like our seniors just to talk about just really briefly, the pathway that they've been on and their future plans and how all this really does connect.
I'm Haley Gelhausen, and I've been in the engineering pathway, and I'm planning on going to college for industrial engineering. And through Perry Central, I got an internship with ATTC where I'm learning about PLCs, HMI programming, electrical work, and I'm drawing up all their CAD files.
I'm Elizabeth Harpenow. I'm a senior, and I was in the engineering pathway also, and I am currently an intern at Universal Design Associates in Ferdinand, Indiana. And there I'm doing work with the architects to draw building elevations and working with the civil engineers in the field.
Hi, I'm Noah Benjamin. I took the advanced manufacturing pathway. I'm currently an intern at Wapaka Foundry. I work in their maintenance, and I plan on going to college and getting my industrial maintenance degree. My apprenticeship at Wapaka has allowed me to also get a college internship there too.
I'm Lucas Harth. I'm a senior, and I took advanced manufacturing as well. And at the beginning of the year, I started interning at Thermwood Corporation in Dale, and I can now say I have a part-time job there, and I'll have a full-time job once the school year ends, and I'll be training to be a travel technician.
And that's it.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll open it up. Board member questions, comments.
Is there,
Ms. Hamill.
Yeah, is there anything missing or on your wish list that, I mean, you're doing just incredible stuff, and I just want to come visit, if that would be okay, to see all of this, but what do you need? Like, is there anything missing that you wish you could do more of?
What do you guys think? People. Yeah. I just think we get really creative with the resources that we have, and our superintendent is Dr. Tara Bishop, and she helps us tremendously with that. And we write a lot of grants, and it obviously takes a lot of hard work. There's a lot of hard work behind all this, and it's not just the people in the room; it's our teachers and the community members that help us as well. So,
thank you, Dr. Ernest.
Hey, thank you. First of all, Jody, you as a great former ag teacher have impressed me. You brought the students today. They are our most important commodity, and I appreciate hearing from them. This was like a leadership career event, so I like that. And for the students, I appreciate you all being here. Some things that I want to circle back to, some things that were talked about that I want us to remember. And one, it was talked about earlier that credits are important in the earlier presentation. I wish they weren't, and I hope that we remember how important learning the transferable skills have been to these students. So as we look at redesign, and I know we can't do what I'd like to do, and that's eliminate credits completely, but we do need to really look at how do we look at those transferable skills, and I think that's really, really important. And when you think about what's been done, schoolwork looks like real work to these students, which is that's something I talk about a lot. And so I think that's really, really important. And if you think about it, companies came to them. We heard students say several times, and in fact, they said it 6 times because I started to mark it down. Companies came to us. Companies came to us, right? And how cool is that, seeking a redesign? And then Haley said something that was meaningful to me. And Haley, you're not off the hook because I'm going to ask you a question. But Haley said, if we can draw it, we can build it, right? Now, we talk about computer science and all that other stuff. They're using it and making it work, right? And we're teaching some creativity in there. So Haley, the last thing I'm going to say is a question to you. I want to know, how has being taught this way, which unfortunately it's revolutionary, but I wish we could be doing it in every school this way, but how has being taught in this way changed your life as a student?
If we didn't have like the engineering pathway and like learning CAD and all this, I don't think I would have like actually went on the path I did. Like being able to learn these pathways and like this CAD stuff, it's really made me decide what I wanted to do in my future.
Thank you, appreciate you.
Dr. Ernest, thank you for your comments. I wish you could see the reactions in the room when you challenged the board that we're not going to be able to go this far. I saw a couple people like, well, maybe we will. So I'm just going to pause on that one. I'm not going to go any further. It's going to be a big year in thinking about how far can we push, how bold can we be, and you're our number one, students. You're on our mind constantly. Hold us accountable. I think often in America, and this has been for decades, and it's not just Indiana, our level of expectation is different than what we see in other countries. And what you can do at a young age is unbelievable if we rethink the system and allow the possibilities. So thank you. Any other comments? Mr. Bess?
I do have one question, and this relates to Dr. Ernest's provocation. My question is, as a high school principal, if you were able to focus solely on the skills that students need for the next thing that comes with it, and again, what's really cool here is you have obviously 2 different pathways that students went, different skill sets needed. I know there's some commonality things that you did, but if you could focus on that rather than the checklist of courses and credits, what would that do for your school environment? And again, realize you're one person representing one school, but what would that do for you as a high school principal?
I think that just the flexibility that we found and thinking about the flexibility that could be coming, and I just think it's more about the student and making high school and making their education more about them instead of about what somebody else thinks they need to do. When I think about the students and the situations they're in and the goals that they have, and I'm like, oh, but you gotta finish up these couple of things, you know. And it's not that those things aren't important, but I just think that it's going to allow students to get what they need to be successful.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very, very much. And on that note, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Lafayette and Perry Central.